we've been doing some videos where I've been focusing more on songs than albums. We focus mostly on albums on this channel, but we started, I guess, this series where I give you the top 20 or whatever songs or my favorite songs from a certain artist. Let's do the Beatles. Why not? Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. And let's do my top 25 favorite Beatles songs. Why not? With all the hoopla around the newly mixed and expanded red and blue albums, last year. These are my originals, these aren't the new ones. But I don't know. It got me thinking a lot about individual songs, right? Because what songs should be on any sort of definitive compilation or anything like that. So ever since these, then I came back out again last year. I've been thinking about Beatles songs sometimes versus the Beatles albums. So let's do it. Normally we do top 20, but it's the Beatles. I guess we can do top 25. So yeah, these are my favorites. First of all, I mean, you're gonna see some obvious picks, and you're gonna see some kind of obscure picks, and you're gonna see some picks in there like, what the hell? Uh, it's my picks. These are the songs that I kind of react to a little bit, or the most, I should say. Um, I know I've got some really important stuff missing here, especially if you're a George Harrison fan. So this is interesting. You know, I, I kind of looked at the data here after I made my list. How many Lennon, how many McCartney, how many Harrison, how many Ringo, and I've always claimed that my favorite Beatle was Paul McCartney. I've just been, still am, astounded by his musicality, really as a musician more than anything else. I just love his playing on the bass, but multi instruments, and his way with melody and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess I've always kind of been, at least called myself, kind of more of a McCartney guy than a Lennon guy, but obviously love John Lennon stuff as well. What's pretty interesting here is counting these up. Didn't really bear that out. I mean, obviously, the songs that Lennon McCartney, they're credited to Lennon McCartney, but we all know, you can figure out, you can do the research, whose song it really was, right? And maybe the other guy contributed a tiny little bit, helped finish it up, but it's primarily this guy or that guy's song. So breaking it down, 13 of these are John Lennon songs, 7 Paul McCartney. That surprised me. I think 4 of them you could say were genuinely Lennon McCartney collaborations, where they're like more or less 50-50 between them. And 1 George Harrison song. Sorry. I I really like George Harrison. But I know there's a lot of guys that, I mean, I watch a lot of Beatles videos out there on YouTube. So many people out there is like, yeah, Harrison's my guy. It's not with me. I don't know. I like Harrison, but it's just he hadn't connected with me like he has apparently with a lot of you guys out there. Let's put it that way. And I got nothing from Ringo. Sorry. All right. So I don't know. Breaking it down like this maybe made me rethink my Beatles fandom. Who knows? As far as who I, although even on John Lennon's tunes, though, some of my favorite musical parts are coming from McCartney. So maybe I can still say McCartney's my favorite, but who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, let's get into it. My top 25 favorite Beatles songs, and at the very end, I'll give you my 5 least favorite Beatles songs, because that's fun too. We can look at the other side of the coin. All right. So I'll try and go kind of quick, so we don't want this video to be too long. Number 25. I'm going with "Yes It Is," which be credited to John Lennon. I love it for those vocal harmonies. It is just beautiful vocal harmonies. So "Yes It Is" was a B-side, I believe. And so, if you want to know where to find it, Past Masters collection. But yeah, a B-side. I'm going to try and, so I got to be shuffling them around back and forth. But I'm going to try and show you the record in which the songs would appear as well as we go. But yeah, yes, it is. It's just, it's a beautiful song, and it's all about those vocal harmonies. Every bit as affecting almost as what the Beach Boys could do or whatever. Number 24. Here's my Harrison song. It might surprise you too. It's not an obvious one, but I love it. I love the Birds, and this is like so obviously like a Birds sounding song. So yeah, if I needed someone from Rubber Soul, and yeah, I just it's that chiming guitar again, which is so Birds like, but really gets me. All right, let's see. Number 23, we got to go to Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and the title track. Love that wonderful, gritty guitar work in there. That's a Paul McCartney song primarily. That groove on it. McCartney's shouted vocals. Love it. Love it. All right. Number 22. Let's go with some more McCartney here. Going with Rocky Raccoon off the White Album. Rocky Raccoon. Just sometimes McCartney's lyrics, the whimsical side of McCartney can get a little grating. This one though, I love. I mean, this I think the whimsy is very witty. The lyrics on Rocky Raccoon, and I like the music. I like the acoustic guitar on it. I just that one I dig. That one I dig. Number 21, another one that you would need to go to a compilation, or the Past Masters, which for me, this is, I think, for a lot of people, when they were redoing the Red Album um, and adding all those tracks, this one was the one that was commented on by most people. It's like, why didn't you add that? Talk about Rain, right? Rain. Um, Wonderful song, John Lennon song, kind of sort of psychedelic feel to it. It's great. It's great. And number 18 is kind of interesting here. I gotta move stuff around, move these records around. Uh, this probably wouldn't show up on a lot of people's top 25. I've always really dug it. I just think it's so cool. And I feel this way about a lot of songs on this record that maybe not a lot of people like. Talk about I've Got a Feeling from Let It Be. Um, this one really is this a true collaboration, Lennon McCartney, because it's two song fragments. So this fragment Lennon had, and then this fragment McCartney had, and then they just like like only these two guys can do. There's other people that have done that, but for some reason, the Beatles, when they just take these unfinished fragments and just splice them together, it's like awesome. I've always loved I've Got a Feeling. I think it's got again great guitar sounds on there. Um, One of my favorite parts of that song is when their vocals start overlapping, but they're not singing together in harmony or anything. It's they're each singing their own song, and then it's actually blending together with you know Lennon doing his part, his lyrics from his song fragment, McCartney doing his song lyrics from his song fragment. They're actually doing it at the same time, like singing over each other. I just think that's so cool. I just think I don't know, man. It's just I love it. I love it. Not a lot of people do though, for some reason. You don't see that song on a lot of top Beatles song lists. Number 17, going all the way back to almost the beginning, with one of these great Lennon McCartney singles, and again didn't appear on an album, but well, I'm not going to pull it out again, but go to the Past Masters collection. She Loves You. I just think it's this early '60s unbelievable burst of energy. The vocal harmonies are great. It's joyous, and I always love that song. Number 16, John Lennon song, Ticket to Ride. Um, John Lennon once claimed this was the earliest example of heavy metal. I don't know if I see that, but yeah, but it does have a heavy groove on it, and I do love that groove. And yeah, she's got a ticket to ride. That's awesome. Oh, I can't use the language on YouTube here, but always reminded of that great. You guys ever seen that Saturday Night Live skit with Eddie Murphy? He claimed he was the fifth Beatle, and then he was kicked out of the band, and Lennon and McCartney like stole all his good ideas and then hit it big. The particular part of that skit where he talks about he was the one who wrote Ticket to Ride. Anyway, the alternate title. It was pretty funny. All right, go find that somewhere. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube or whatever. Number 15 is an obvious one. Huge single. Uh, hey Jude, right? And I've always loved the oft told, speculation stories over who that was really written for. I've read somewhere that it was written for John Lennon, and I've read other places it was written for Julian Lennon, right? John Lennon's son, who's going through a tough time, and McCartney was sort of trying to pick him up a little bit. Anyway, whoever it was written for, just that obviously it's that epic closing, however many minutes, yeah, the na-na-nas, that, that just brings it into just classic territory. It's so great. One of McCartney's, I think, finest compositions. Even John Lennon talked about how that was one of his favorite songs written by Paul McCartney. All right. Let's see. Number 14, speaking of McCartney, is one of my all-time favorite McCartney songs. Man, I love this song. It's off of Abbey Road, where I think McCartney really is kind of the hero on Abbey Road. It's You Never Give Me Your Money. Again, I love those, what sounds like song fragments, and these multiple parts that are strung together. I just think I think it's one of McCartney's finest moments as well. Speaking of some finest moments, here's one of John Lennon's finest moments. Yeah, off of Rubber Soul, Norwegian Wood. Uh, Famously about an affair that he had, or a brief romantic dalliance that he had. Very early use of sitar, from George Harrison. It's interesting reading about accounts of recording that, where Harrison said, I didn't know what I was doing. It was an old crappy sitar that I found, but he just kind of worked out that part, and it's this classic part, classic song. That song is one of the more unique moods, I think, that's created in a lot of these Beatles songs. Number 12, single, but if you accept Magical Mystery Tour, the American version is canon, then you could say it's on Magical Mystery Tour. But yeah, talking about Strawberry Fields Forever, I think it is just genius. The construction of that song. If you ever read about the recording of that song, how it was constructed out of two different takes that were even sort of in slightly different keys, and just the brilliance of George Martin and his production, where he sped one up and slowed one down to try and kind of match the keys a little bit. Just brilliant producing and editing and mixing, all of that stuff. All right, number 11, getting almost here to the top 10. Number 11, my number 11 favorite Beatles song would be A Hard Day's Night. Just obviously that opening chord that is like an earthquake in the popular culture. Just just pure energy. Brilliant, brilliant. All right, my top 10. Here we are. My top 10 favorite Beatles songs. My number 10 coming here off the White Album would be John Lennon's Dear Prudence. Gorgeous guitar and vocal from Lennon. If you've ever read about that song, he wrote it for Mia Farrow. Actually, no, Mia Farrow's sister. Sorry, Prudence. Mia Farrow's sister. That was while they were on their little sojourn up, in India, and she wouldn't come out of her little bungalow or whatever to participate. And I don't know, Lennon wrote a song about it. Dear Prudence, won't you come out to play? Right. That's what that song's about. Overdubbed guitar. They overdubbed like 6 or 7 of these guitars to make for that rich sound on that, guitar sound on that track. I just love it, love it. Actually, I should have just kept that album in my hand, because my number 9. Is that where we are? Yeah, Oops, the mic there. My number 9 is also from the White Album, and that would be another Lennon song, "Happiness Is a Warm Gun." Yet another Beatles song that seems to be constructed by these multiple song fragments that they just put together and make magic. Man, it's just no one does it like they did. And I just think it makes a brilliant whole. And I is that my it's probably my favorite song on this record. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, coming in at number 8 would be oh no, here it is. Help, the title track. Help. Now, I've got to say, another big disappointment for me with the reissued Red album was on the original. They used the American version with that little James Bond intro, which I've always loved. It's just always been one of that's my favorite version of Help. But then on this new reissued version, they took that they used the actual song, I guess the UK version. Um, it's always kind of disappointing because I love the little James Bond intro at the beginning of the American version of Help. But anyway, just John Lennon again. Just a if you read what Lennon Lennon talked a lot about these songs in these interviews and stuff that he did, and he said, yeah, that's the reason there's an exclamation mark there. It's a real cry for help at the time. But man, it's just such a great song. All right, coming in number 7. Let me grab this record. I think is a landmark song in psychedelic music and just brilliance packed into 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Genius. Tomorrow Never Knows from Revolver. Absolute, just what they do on that song, and you know, you got to think about when they did that. It just blows the doors open on the sonic possibilities, in that era. And in 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So much of this great psychedelic music is a 30-minute meandering jams. In 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they pack in just genius. Just genius. All right. Number 6, when John Lennon was kind of in his Dylan period, where he was trying to, I guess, very influenced by Bob Dylan. I've always loved this song. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, which was on the Help album. You can tell he's trying to sound like Dylan from the guitar, the acoustic guitar strumming to Lennon's vocals, all of it. I love that song. I love playing that song. My buddy and I we were playing music regularly. Uh, you know, that was a song we covered, and that cool flute part I figured out on the harmonica. That sounds really cool. Just playing that part on the harmonica. Anyway, love that song. It's a fun song to sing. It's a fun song to play. It's a wonderful song to listen to. Number 5. Now, number 5 is an obvious one. Number 5 is one that is going to be on most of your hits collections and whatever. But I mean, it's brilliant. Now, this is one where it's John Lennon's song, so I got to credit him in my count here to Lennon. But the only reason this is on my list and why it's so high, why I love it, is because of what Paul McCartney is doing in this song. I'm talking about "Come Together" off of Abbey Road. This would be to me kind of a generic, not generic, but just sort of a straightforward kind of bluesy riff thing, if not for McCartney's bass line. To me, McCartney's bass line is what just makes that song. And I haven't read enough about it. I don't know if that was all McCartney, like 100% McCartney coming in and putting that bass line in there, or whether Lennon said they had the idea of having whatever it was. To me, it's that bass line that absolutely makes that song. Love that bass line. Let's stick with McCartney. We're at least talking about McCartney. My number 4 slot is, to me, it's just beautiful. I think one of those beautiful songs written by McCartney, and it's not a straight up ballad. It's got kind of this mid tempo groove to it, but it's just this great feel to it. That's "Things We Said Today." I love "Things We Said Today." That was on I think it's on a Hard Day's Night. If I am correct, yes, it is. So yeah, "Things We Said Today" off a Hard Day's Night. Um, just like I said, it's kind of that acoustic guitar kind of groove, and then the bass in there, just the whole flow of it. Love it, love it. All right, my top three songs, and how appropriate. One's a Lennon song, one's a McCartney song, and one is a McCartney and Lennon song. So there you go. In my three slot, and this was a single, so it's not on any album, so you'd have to go to a comp or the Past Masters collection. Day Tripper, and it's obviously it's about that guitar riff. That to me is one of the greatest riffs. We should do a video counting down favorite guitar riffs. That would be up there. I think that is one of the greatest guitar riffs in rock and roll history. And that's primarily why that song is where it is. It's just a killer riff. Love that song. Number two is an obvious song. It's tops most lists. I don't know. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious, but yeah, for a reason. I'm gonna go with "Day in the Life," right? From well, I don't know where I put it, but Sergeant Pepper, obviously. But yeah, "A Day in the Life." Yet another song where you have this sort of partial song written by McCartney, this partial song written by Lennon, and it's kind of weird. They divide the Lennon song and just insert this McCartney song in the middle of it, and it's like it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, what do I need to tell you about "A Day in the Life," right? You know, and I guess one of the things that's interesting about that song to me is it is sort of, I think, one of the ultimate examples of while they were still together, the wonderful kind of yin and yang of Lennon and McCartney. Because these song fragments sound very different. It's like the Lennon song is this great sort of melancholy, just beautiful, almost dreamy sound, um, but the lyrics are great too. And then all of a sudden, woke up, got out of bed. It's like so McCartney, and then it returns to the Lennon thing. It's just so cool how it does that. My number one song, I do need to find the record cover for, yeah, here it is, for this one, because it's the number one song. And it's the title track of this record. So, these records are falling all over the place. This may be an uncool pick, also an obvious pick because it was a big hit. I can't help what I love, though. I love what I love. You love what you love. Title track, "Let It Be." I think it's a hymn. It's a beautiful hymn from Paul McCartney. Healing in so many ways, personally, on a personal level, or sort of a soliloquy to the end of the '60s, the end of the era, or for the breakup of the Beatles, which was imminent, right? Um, all of it. It's a hymn, and I think it is absolutely gorgeous, and it still hits me emotionally every time. Wonderful guitar solo from George Harrison. Although if you've seen the footage, McCartney like trying to instruct Harrison on like every single note to play in that solo. It's like, why don't you do it? You do it. Anyway, it's fascinating the process, right? But yeah, I it is a gorgeous, beautiful song. Like I said, maybe not the coolest, hippest choice as my favorite Beatles song. It was my favorite Beatles song. All right, real quickly, let's talk. I promised you I would give you my 5 least favorite Beatles songs. So here they are. In no particular order, I just picked my least favorite Beatles songs. "All My Loving," McCartney song. I don't know. To me, that's always been one of the more trite of the sort of earlier kind of trite singles. I know for the time it was great, but just what came after blows that away so much. Not just from the Beatles, but from anybody. It just kind of blows that some of that stuff out of the water. I mean, I told you I had "She Loves You" on this list. I got nothing. I'm not opposed at all to great early Beatles singles and pop music, but that one never liked. Here's another McCartney one that one of my least favorite Beatles songs. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, hello, hello. It's just, I don't know. It just has always been irritating to me. I firmly believe if those lyrics were written by anyone else other than one of the Beatles, it would not be this hit single that it was. It's just terrible lyrics. I don't know. John, you read those or you read those John Lennon interviews. Lennon always hated that song. He said it's a terrible song. I got to agree with John Lennon. All right, got to give Harrison some love or some not love. I Me Mine. I don't know. I just found that song irritating. Always have. Let's go back to McCartney. Told you I love a lot of his stuff in the Beatles, but he's also responsible for some of the more irritating things from the Beatles. Oh, darling. I think one of the few uh, not brilliant parts of Abbey Road. Oh, darling. I just McCartney sort of showing off his vocal histrionics, screeching. It's just never liked that song. And then finally, The Word, which from my research, you got to credit equally to Lennon and McCartney. The Word off of Rubber Soul. Yeah, no, the word is not love. The word is annoying. Anyway, I don't like that song. All right. I guess I got to give one honorable mention in my dislikes. The song itself is fine. I kind of dig the music and all that, but it lyrically has not aged well, especially with the revelations of John Lennon's personal life and some of his anger issues with some of the women in his life, and some of the abuse and whatnot. Run for Your Life has not aged well, just lyrically speaking. All right, anyway. That's there you go. Just a few dislikes, but no, let's the word is love. Let's stay with the positive. Those are my 25 favorite Beatles songs. So obviously in the comments, fire away. What are your favorite Beatles songs and why? You know, what do you love? So let's talk Beatles songs. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel, really helps us out. Hit the bell for notifications, share the videos, like the videos, all that. And we'll see you next time.